There's so many beliefs that we hold on to as individuals that shape us and hold us back from certain things in life. One of the biggest beliefs for me that I have became conscious of and am learning to overcome is that I am not enough. And this is something that I have been working through for many, many years. And I wanted to talk about it today because it's something that I was unconscious of for so long, and then I became conscious of it and still didn't really know how to do anything about it, and then learned how to move through it and see certain things in my life change as I was moving through it. And yet still, it seems to come up time and time again, the universe constantly testing me to see if I have overcome this belief about myself or not. So today I'm going to be talking about the origin of why I feel like I am not enough. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. I'm Deanna, and this is Through the Cycles. Let's have a little chat today. So the whole I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not brave enough, I'm not powerful enough, all of the adjectives can be placed behind I am not blank enough. That belief has been something that has run through me pretty much most of my life. And through a lot of deep reflection, through a lot of journaling, and through a little bit of therapy, I was actually able to figure out the first moment in my life where I felt like I wasn't enough. Growing up, I was a very confident child. I walked into every room and made everybody look at me. I wanted everybody to sit down and watch me dance. I was making everybody laugh. I had this confidence in me that just exuded fun and exuded light, and that was something that I was always told as a child, that I was a very light being and resembled the sun. So that was kind of my foundation for childhood. And then moving up into my preteen teen age, things kind of started to change for me because I had such a deep strong sense of self and confidence that came so natural to me. But I was starting to realize that other people didn't, and other people were trying to dim my light. And I wasn't really standing for it. I knew who I was confident in who I was, and I would constantly stand by that. I ran into some friend group issues in that preteen, teen phase, and some of the friend group issues kind of marked me up pretty damn good. I had a best friend at the time who I did absolutely everything with. We did the same sports, we went to the same school, we hung out all the time, and we had our own friend group within our own friendship that we had together, but us two were sort of like the bestest friends in the entire friend group. And over time, through years and years of friendship, we reached a point where she completely flipped on me, and she was no longer my friend, and she was now turning all of the friends I had against me. Now, this can kind of be its own separate episode because there was a lot of stuff that happened in this situation that I have a lot of wounding from, and I held inside of me for so long that I was so unconscious of. I had no idea that this situation affected me as much as it did until I was an adult, until I was in college, and I was doing all of this shadow work and trying to understand myself and how I got here, that I realized this one specific situation fucked me up pretty good. I used to hate the word bullying, and I actually used to say all the time that if you say you're bullied, you're just weak. And I totally disagree with that as an adult now. I 100% think bullying is a thing, and I think it's a problem, and You either are the bully or get bullied. And in my life, I've kind of been on both ends of it. I've been really mean to people, and I've also received the other end of it. In this specific situation, looking back on it as an adult, I was being bullied, and having my entire friend group turned on me was something that was so devastating in the eyes of a 12, 13-year-old girl. It was my whole world. Your friends are everything to you, especially at that age. So it was something that really upset me. And not only were my friends turned on me and she turned on me, but she isolated me in a way that made me feel so incredibly alone. And no matter what I did, whether I tried to be nice to them, whether I tried to ignore them, whether I tried to be mean to them, whether I tried to make new friends, it didn't matter what I did. Nothing was working. Nothing was enough. And that was the first time in my life that I felt like I was not enough. I struggled to figure out what I did wrong to her. I struggled to figure out why my other friends turned on me, because I thought that they trusted me and I trusted them, and I was confused. And all of these emotions were too much to store in my tiny, tiny little 13-year-old body. So I held on to the fact that I wasn't enough, and I packaged it up, and I stored it somewhere inside of my brain, and I let it grow. I let it build. I let it take host in me. And that tiny speck of a thought that I was not enough grew into something that became out of my control. After this bullying situation, that little pebble of I am not enough really tripled, quadrupled inside when I got into my first relationship in high school. There were so many moments that I can think back to of not feeling like enough, but I will just tell you a few, or else we would be here all damn day. So I was dating a boy in high school. It was a very typical high school relationships. We were together, and then we weren't together, and then we were back together. But this specific story comes from a time when we were not together. We were in this really weird gray period where he broke up with me because I was going through some medical stuff with my back. I was a cheerleader. I had a back injury, and I was sort of trying to figure out what was wrong with my back. And I was in pain all the time, and I was miserable all the time, and I wasn't making time for him. So essentially, we took a break. We were on a break. Whew. We were on a break. If you know, you know. And if you've ever been on a break, wow, don't ever do it. It never works. It never freaking works. Obviously, it didn't work. But during this time, when we were on a break, it very quickly turned into me doing everything in my power to try and show him why I was enough. Why I was enough for him to want to get back with me. It became the most toxic, fucked up loop that I was in with this boy. The belief of I am not enough was so prevalent during this period because I was bending over backwards for him. I was dressing the way he wanted me to dress. I wasn't wearing tight clothes to school anymore, and none of my skin was showing, and I wouldn't go to parties because he didn't like that, and I didn't talk to any of my guy friends because he didn't like that. There were so many things that I was doing to be enough for him, and he would give me tiny little breadcrumbs of validation that I was enough. Just little tiny pieces trailing me along, pulling me into him so I could feel for 1 second like I was enough. And then he would remind me that I wasn't enough because we still weren't together. I wasn't good enough for him to want to get back together with me. I was just good enough when he needed me. And this went on. This went on and on and on and on. And we were on this break for a year and a half. And that tiny little pebble in my brain of I am not enough became my whole brain. It was everything. It was the way I operated. I operated out of I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I'm not enough. And this wasn't like a conscious thought pattern, right? Like I wasn't thinking in my head at 16, 17 years old, you are not enough. You are not enough. No, 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 no. It was at the epicenter of how my brain was operating and what actions I was taking based off of the belief that I had buried deep, deep down into my psyche. I hope that makes sense. It wasn't something that I was conscious of yet. I'm just speaking of it consciously now so you can understand where it came from. I like to reference the movie Inside Out. It's a children's like animated movie, and when they go into her subconscious brain and they see, I think it's Inside Out 2 actually, and they see all of her belief systems, all of her strings that attach her to her, and some of them joy touches or sadness touches, they turn from a core belief of something that was positive into something that's negative. So that's kind of how I see it in my brain, and that's how I am processing it. When I saw that visual, I was like, yes, that's such a good visual, not just for children, but like for adults too. So if you want to look up Inside Out 2 and watch that movie, really fucking great movie. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. So I'm in this relationship. My I am not enough belief has tripled tenfold, and we're still not together. At a certain point, I have had enough of not being enough. And my ego could not let me go on any longer in this relationship because I felt embarrassed at a certain point. I felt like I was holding on to something that I didn't need to hold on to anymore. And I felt embarrassed to be seen by other people and my friends and still be trying to get back with my ex. So maybe not for the best reasons, but that was the reason I decided, okay, fuck it. I got to move on. I'm done with this. So I started talking to a new boy, somebody that I had been friends with for years and had a lot of history with. And we started talking, we started getting really friendly, we started hanging out one-on-one. Nothing had happened between us. We hadn't hooked up, but we were definitely hanging out one-on-one, and we were texting a lot, and there was a lot of flirting going on in the hallways at school. And once all of that started happening, my ex-boyfriend decided that I was enough again. What a coincidence. How convenient for him to now want me once somebody else wants me. And because all I had been wanting for a year and a half was for my ex-boyfriend to want me and to say the words, let's get back together, I folded. I fucking folded. He said the words, I want to get back together. And I said, let's fucking do it. And I was relieved and I was happy. And I felt like this massive weight was lifted off my shoulders. And it was this superficial feeling of, I'm enough. I did it. I'm enough. Baby girl, you were still not enough for him. That relationship was tragic and embarrassing, and he wound up cheating on me after we got back together, and that ended pretty quickly. So after being cheated on, after that whole debacle, the I am not enough thing was at an all-time high. I very quickly after that got into another relationship with somebody else. Very quickly. Definitely too quickly. But At the time, I got into this relationship because it was the first time that I had felt a fraction of what I was worth. And I say a fraction because looking back, it was not what I was worth. But at the time, it was the first time that I was being treated decently. So I thought that that was like holy and above. I was like, holy shit. Like this guy is like a little bit nice to me. Like, whoa, I love him. You know what I mean? I was like so used to being treated like shit and the fighting and the whole fucking back and forth and the toxic shit that the moment I felt a boy give me a little bit of positive love, I was like, whew, this is it. He's the one. I'm in love. Let's date. And it went like that for a little bit of time. I remember actually saying the words to him, thanking him for showing me how I should be treated. And I very, very quickly ate those words, chewed them up, choked on them, and then threw them back out. It was good for a little while. Some shit happened, and then it wasn't good. So the I am not enough belief went from 100 after being cheated on down to a 70 and then right back up to 1,000 because this wound was never healed, right? It was just either shushed or it was screaming. And because I didn't heal it from the bullying, from the past relationship, from the cheating, now coming out of this relationship, oh my God, I am not enough was like fucking blinking, screaming, shouting at me, and I had no other choice but to look at it, see it for the first time, and feel it. And that's exactly what happened. After that last relationship ended and the I am not enough became 1,000, ironically, was the exact same time I went through my spiritual awakening. And it is no accident to me that that happened. The universe lines things up this way. The universe, if you're not going to look at something, it's going to show you one way or another. If you want to bury things down, they're going to come out one way or another. Whether you experience physical limitations like sicknesses, dis-ease, right? Disease in the body, it's going to come out. It's going to show itself to you. So I'm not enough. That's what came out to me. And I saw it and I faced it for the first time and I felt it in my bones. And it was the worst feeling that I have ever felt. And I felt in those moments and I understood that, oh my God, my brain has been operating from I am not enough for almost a decade. And it was earth-shattering. It was heartbreaking. It was frustrating. I was in denial for a little bit. I'm like, no, I know I'm enough. I have confidence. I have self-worth. I have self-love. But all of those things were very superficial to me at that time. None of them meant anything. I had to figure out how to be enough for myself, not for the girl who bullied me when I was a preteen. Not for my first boyfriend who fucked me up in the mind and cheated on me. Not for my second boyfriend who gave me a little bit of validation and then threw it back in my face. I had to learn how to be enough for myself because I didn't feel like enough for myself. It had nothing to do with other people. All of those people were a reflection of how I thought about myself. Your internal mind frames your external mind. So all of the people around you whether you want to believe it or not, are a reflection of how you see yourself. And that was really where things changed for me. I learned how to love Deanna. I fell in love with myself, and I love myself now, and I didn't love myself before. And it was this sense of deep, authentic, and real love that allowed me to alleviate some of that pressure in my mind of not being enough. I've done a lot of meditating on not being enough. I've done a little bit of hypnotherapy also about not being enough and figuring out how to feel like I am enough. And a big transition for me with it has not only been how to feel like I'm enough, but how to feel like I'm more than enough, how to feel like I'm affluent, how to feel like I'm abundant. Because I reached the point where I did feel like I was enough, and I was kind of redirected to this pebble in my mind of, okay, you feel like you're enough, but what about if you felt affluent? What about if you felt abundant? And that's where I'm at right now with my career, with my relationships, with my friendships. Every single thing in my life is abundant and affluent. And right now, my biggest struggle with it is with my career. I am trying to figure out how to feel abundant and affluent and enough in my career. And I'm doing a bit of a riskier thing, and I'm not working that corporate 9 to 5, but I'm trusting it. And I'm fighting that fucking voice in my head that tells me I'm not enough and that I can't do it. I'm actively practicing to get rid of it for good. And listen, will it show back up when I'm 40 and my kid screams at me, "You're a bad mom"? That might re-trigger the wound, right? However, I now have the tools to be able to deal with it. And that's how life works. Shit comes up, you work through it, you grow, you become a better person. You're never going to be fully healed. All the beliefs, all the wounding, all the triggering, it never goes away. You learn to manage it. You learn to deal with it. And I want to grow, and I want to be a better person, and I want to work through these things because that's the work we do here on earth as humans. So as much heartache and sadness and emotional discomfort my I am not enough wound has caused me, I am eternally grateful for it, because I would not be where I am. I would not have the amazing, sexy, supportive, loving, caring partner that I have if I hadn't been in all those shitty relationships, if I hadn't been bullied when I was 12. I would not know how high my standards need to be if I hadn't experienced all of that, if I hadn't learned to love myself before loving my boyfriend. I would not be sitting here talking to you guys, because I would have told myself, hell no, nobody's going to listen to that. Nobody cares what you have to say. I care what I have to say, and people are going to listen to this. So if you're listening and you have an I am not enough wound, or you've experienced that feeling of not being enough, you are enough. And I want you to figure that out for yourself. It's a freeing, liberating feeling to choose yourself and to understand how truly amazing you are exactly as you are. Because you are enough, and I'm enough. And it's a wonderful thing that we get to experience on this earth as humans and learn how to grow from. That's my spiel on not being enough. I have tons of wounding, tons of things like this that have come up through my life, and I've learned how to work through. The I am not enough thing is something that was numero uno on my list, something that really affected me super deeply and affected every aspect of my life. So if you guys want to hear any more stories about my beliefs and my wounding and my trauma, I am happy to share. As always, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will see you very soon. Bye.